Hi guys, I'm Shmee, hello and welcome back to the channel. It is a beautiful day here in Los Angeles. We're at the Petersen Museum to go and take a look at the brand new Corvette E-Ray. Now I'm particularly interested in the Corvette E-Ray. I've actually had quite a soft spot for the new C8 since it was introduced, and given at some point this car is going to be heading back to the Shmeemobile, back to the UK, it would be quite nice to have another American Shmeemobile. We're going to be talking all about this today, having a full look inside out at the E-Ray in the exhibit, where we can check out the full car, the coupe, the convertible, plus a cutaway to see more of the electrification. Yes, controversial point, putting a battery and a motor into a Corvette. But let's get cracking, let's talk a little bit more about it. Then we're going to head inside for a full look at the E-Ray. Firstly, how cool is this? Blue skies, this view over parts of Los Angeles, palm trees. This is glorious. Anyway, before we head in to take a look at the E-Ray, I want to talk a bit more about this. So, about 2 and a bit years ago, I bought a Shelby GT500 out here, which I kept here for 1.5 years, was very much the American Shmeemobile before I sent it back home to register it and have it in the UK. Now, for the last couple of months, and in total about 6 months, the GT Black Series is here and we're doing tons of miles with it. I love having a car that I can use, that I can drive across the country, where you've got a great dealer support network if you need it, you've got great practicality, great luggage space, great usability, great drivability, and when this goes, that spot out here is going to need to be filled with something, I think. It's so fun being here doing cross-country road trips. So there's still a lot more to go with this, but when we get to later in the year, perhaps into next year, there's a vacant spot in the lineup, and the Corvette E-Ray certainly grabs my attention. So let's go and take a look. Come on in then. Here we are in the studio with the brand new 2024 Corvette E-Ray. The E-Ray, electrification in a Corvette. But let me show you all about this. We're going to run through all the details, a full walk around of this Seawolf grey car that's right here in the studio, plus check out the interior, the dashboard, but also this rather fascinating object alongside the cutaway. You can see there is still a combustion engine back there. We're going to be going through that, but there's also a battery, an electric motor, and plenty more to dive into. Now, I was lucky to go to the original launch event out here in Tustin, California, when they presented the 8th generation Corvette, plus the convertible when it arrived. That was an event over in Florida. Of course, the Z06 is the flagship, and the interesting thing with the E-Ray is how much it borrows from the Z06, the wider body, well, lots more that we're going to get to in just a moment. So take it in. As I said, the body, the wider body from the Z06. You've got the carbon lip down here, you've got the more aggressive look to the front end. We've also got some very, very wide all-season tires, because the idea with this is that it's a Corvette you can drive all the time. 275 wide at the front, 345 wide at the rear. This is an all-wheel drive car. You still have the 8-speed DCT gearbox, you still have the Stingray's 6.2 litre V8, but you now have this electrified front axle to give you that extra boost of performance without adding too much weight to the car, but to give you the extra usability, the extra acceleration off the line. 0 to 60 miles per hour in the E-Ray is only 2.5 seconds, the quickest accelerating Corvette ever. Now take a look around as we walk past. It's available instantly as both the Targa roof panel coupe, you can pop off the roof, tuck it away in the back, or as the convertible with the folding hard top. Back here, we've got this lower level spoiler. The full upper level from the Z06 is kept away from this for the time being, but you do again have those more aggressive lines and shapes. And remember, this is all the development of the first generation mid-engined Corvette, the C8 as it was nicknamed. So, to show you a bit more over here with the cutaways, the first thing to point out is that you have the battery right here in the central tunnel. It's a 1.9 kilowatt hour battery sitting right in there, feeding power through to the motor that sits up here, mounted centrally in the front axle. It doesn't infringe too much on the available luggage space, the frunk that you have here. The electric motor adds significant power. In fact, it adds 160 horsepower to the 495 that you get from the back, 655 horsepower total. It also gives you a big hit of torque. In fact, it takes the standard 470 up another 125 pounds-foot. That's up to 800 newton meters or so in total, which is a huge, huge, huge figure to give you that boost off the line, to give you that earlier acceleration out of the corners, while also giving you a small amount of electric driving range, which we'll touch on in a moment. Back here though, the V8. it's still a Corvette with a combustion engine. We know electrification in full is coming. For now, it's about performance as well as about setting this new direction to give both performance and the efficiency side of things as well, to have this electric ability to drive up to 45 miles per hour for the first 3 or 4 miles of driving to get you out of your neighborhood, but being able to charge, if you're driving at around 60 miles an hour, it can charge that 1.9 kilowatt hour battery back up in only 2 miles of driving. If you're doing something more adventurous, let's say with it, with the extra fast charge enabled, it will charge up in like half a mile or so. But back here, engine sits in front of the rear axle. Just behind that, we have the 8-speed DCT that was introduced for the car, effectively the combustion engine power plant from the Stingray, from the C8 Stingray as it originally arrived, with 495 horsepower, with 470 pounds-foot of torque, and an amazing setup, as I can tell you from my own driving experience with this. Now, to dive into it a little bit more, let's talk about the wheels. A new turbine-style wheel. We've actually got a staggered setup, 21 at the rear, 20 at the front, but a new design specifically for the E-Ray. And one of the interesting things to combat the extra weight that's added with the battery and with the motor is to have carbon ceramic brakes as standard to take away that unsprung mass, which is hugely significant. There are not a whole lot of cars out there on the market with carbon ceramics and all-season tyres. The Michelin Pilot all-season tyre option, as I said, 345 wide rear tyres, which is quite frankly ludicrous, to be completely honest. The tyre that's been developed with Michelin specifically for the E-Ray. So if you want to drive it in all electric, the idea here is that it's more for getting away from where you are, you know, to not have the loud startup of the engine, to just move out of your driveway, to move out of your neighborhood, that kind of thing, as opposed to being a fully electrified version. There's no charge port, for example. There's no charge port as you find on an EV to literally plug it in and charge it up, because with the size of the battery pack in this, there wouldn't really be anything to gain by doing so, and it would feel too disconnected from what a Corvette really should be. Now we should head round to the driver's side to show you a little bit of the interior. This car is obviously spec'd very highly. We have the full carbon fiber performance package trim inside. We've got that squared off steering wheel, as we've seen. Very few changes to the interior, other than of course the badging, for example the E-Ray sills, and I think fundamentally the most standout item is to have the quick charge button just there alongside your auto stop start for the combustion engine. That's the button you press if you want it to maintain more electric power. Let's say you're driving on the track, if you want it to keep for a longer period of time, as opposed to the, let's say, qualifying mode where it would all go very quickly. Now, visually, this is the boomerang style shape that you saw introduced with the Z06, the Z06, the extra larger opening for the cooling towards the engine, and the bodywork maintains the Z06 styling basically all around, which is obviously very cool. And it'll be interesting to see how demand for these are. The team think at the moment it will be around 20-25% of the total Corvette orders will be E-Rays, compared to 25 to 30% being Z06s, which is certainly still the more track-orientated version, we could say, but there's also another car we can have a quick nosy at. So I want to show you a bit more through the interior and give you an example of what these displays look like. I haven't yet mentioned, but we've got the new E-Ray badging, as you can see here, worn on the flanks of the car, but let me come and show you inside here, the dashboards and what this looks like. First time sitting in the new Corvette E-Ray. Let me pull the door closed. We've got the ignition button just here, and we can see some of the new displays and dashboard graphics that have been introduced, as you can immediately see here with the gauges. So you can actually go from home into E-Ray performance. This is where then you have gauges, dyno, data, all sorts of information that you can see, for example, how much charge you've gained while you're driving, how much it's charged obviously off the combustion engine, and how much you've used as you've been going as well. I love all of this kind of information. New screens to just show everywhere. This is obviously your Charge Plus. This is when you've pressed that when you're driving, in addition to your 6 familiar driving modes, Tour all the way up to track, for example, and then an interior that we know from the Stingray and from the Z06. Your heated seats, ventilated seats, there are a few different seat options, your climate control switches. I do find it takes some getting used to with all of this, and then the passenger side all down towards the lower section. But otherwise, of course, this is the car inside that we're familiar with. A wonderful view through towards the engine bay with the window back there, we've got the sound system speakers all around. We've got a charging pad for your phone, positioned right in the center. We've got the armrest storage that you have here. You've also got some further storage just here as well with your cup holders, and then the pad with your controller just here as well for your infotainment and other settings. This is the Targa panel for the roof, which you've got 3 latches for, one at the back, one on either side just above the visors. Pull those and this can be stowed away in the storage compartment actually at the back as well. Something that I've always been a big fan of when it comes to the new Corvette is how practical it is for a mid-engine sports car. Often when you've got an engine at the back, you lose a whole lot of luggage space, and obviously if you're thinking about doing road trips and traveling a lot, which is obviously quite topical here, you need to be able to take luggage with you. So we've got a frunk, we've also got some space behind the engine, and in fact, to open up the front, a lot of people don't know this, there is actually a button right under here at the front. You give a press of this, and it should pop it up, and then you can just lift it up. Inside here, of course, it's plugged in because of the demonstrations at the moment. You lose ever so slightly with the amount of space back here, but you can still fit in a trolley bag and some luggage. Plus, it also, at the front, has soft close. Drop it down, and it pulls itself in, which is really quite nice. Then at the back of the car, there's actually a button. Often, these kind of cars don't have buttons. It is tucked in here. Give a press of that, pops open. This rear clam lifts up. We get a lovely view of that NA V8. In fact, there are not a whole lot of naturally aspirated V8 engines out there. NA engine with hybrid assistance. Very rare combo, because most of the cars in this segment, let's say, are turbocharged, twin turbocharged. Anyway, and here is where you can stow away your roof panel. You've got the brackets, you've also got some additional pouches and netting and things, and you can fit a surprising amount back there. Certainly a car that you can drive all the time, and that's the idea with this, the theory behind it. So I drop that back down, should also soft close, there we go. You've got the camera at the back. It's a digital rear view mirror and the camera system, and a whole lot of different computers and systems and software that are all running on this. So a pretty cool opportunity to take a look at it, admiring the carbon fiber roof panel that we have up here as well. And with prices for the coupe, as we see it here, starting from a little over 100,000 US, add 7,000 or so for the convertible, it's a lot of car for the money. It's a lot of car. That's one of the things it was most acclaimed for when it arrived. $60,000 starting price for the new C8. And just amazing to be able to dive into this and find out more about it. Now, I'd like to go and take a look at the other car that's lurking around here too. We're going to have a little demo then. So this is where you have stealth normal. So if it's popped into stealth mode, this is when it will use the electric motor only for quiet operation up to 45 miles per hour. You can see the dashboard. Things have woken up, and we can just have a small demo of the E-Ray moving under its own battery power propulsion before we'll have a full experience at some point a little down the line. I suppose it's amazing to know that this is where it's going, and this is of course just under electric. You can kick in the engine at some point and then have full power. By way of a demo of the start, the car will automatically fire up if you go over 0.15 G, or if you change the mode, so it can be manually started. We can take a little listen to this. That's what we like. Not many cars sound like that in the modern world. That's a very, very welcome noise. Grumbling away. So, you can drive on a V8 or you can drive on electric. This seems like a really good package, especially for the kind of touring that I like to do. In the lobby here at the Petersen, we also have the bonus of checking out the new E-Ray Convertible. This is of course the retractable hardtop convertible version. You have the rear deck with the buttresses that folds open to tuck away the two-piece roof panel. But take a look at the interior of this, the dual tone blue. This is a lovely configuration. The bright blue accents around the headrests and the outside of the seats and also in the central console, but then the navy blue with the matching lighter blue stitching for the inserts and the armrest. That is very, very smart. This car also has the optional electric blue with black pinstripe vinyl stripe package, the racing stripes. That's only available for the E-Ray, and it has the metallic black with silver pinstripe wheels, plus you've got the contrast of the Corvette and the forged text on the outer edge there as well. A very, very smart looking thing, a very nice package for all around driving. And I think even though it is electrified, and you know, to traditionalists, the idea of a Corvette with an electric motor and a battery is obviously rather controversial, I think they've done a nice job of this. The minor electrification to boost performance, to introduce additional functionality without going the full way, even though we know that is coming. Back outside, and I still cannot get over how wonderful it is today. This is like perfection right now, especially with this. Cars should always be in very bright colors, in my opinion. But having driven so far about 8,000 miles of this tour with the GT Black Series, and still with probably 5,000 or 6,000 miles ahead on the rest of the adventure, there's nothing like a car that you can actually use for all purposes. Not a car that's too compromised or has too little luggage space or is too uncomfortable if you've got a 1,000 mile slog somewhere. And I'm left feeling that the E-Ray is probably a great example of that. I like technology. Back at home, I drive my Ferrari SF90 Stradale all the time. I've got a 296 GTS on order as well. Hybrid tech, when it's used to boost performance, but also gives you more interaction with the car, more to play with, but not too much of a compromise by going full electrified and then needing to have charging stations all over the place when ultimately you want, let's say, a lightweight sports car. It's a good balance. Right now, that seems to work very well, certainly in my usability and what I like to do with them. So this car has piqued my interest a lot. I'd love to know what you think, whether an E-Ray would be a good choice for a Shmeemobile out here in the US, whether there's something else perhaps I should consider as well. But obviously, if I'm going to order a new car, at some point I'm going to need to get on with that and get that done. So for now, back in this beast, but I tell you what, today was fascinating to take a look at it. I hope you've enjoyed this first full look at the new 2024 Corvette E-Ray. I certainly have. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you for your support. As always, guys, I really appreciate it. And I'll see you again very soon. Cheers.